Hi Bigland Green, we're missing you loads. Today we're going to do our first session on origami. We are going to make a butterfly. Origami is when you use a square piece of paper and you just use folding, no cutting, to create a shape. This shape might be just flat and 2D, or like this one, a little bit three-dimensional. Origami is really good for visual practice on understanding halves, quarters, lines of symmetry, parallel lines, and perpendicular lines. These skills are really helpful in art, design, and mathematics. These videos would be good for anyone from years 3, 4, 5, or 6. If you're super confident, feel free to join in if you're in years 1 and 2. Now, you've probably usually seen that origami is made with special origami paper, with a pattern on one side, a blank on the other. They are cut in an exact square and they're nice and easy to use, but they are expensive, and we might not have any of those at home. I have spent most of my life not having any of these at home, but I still wanted to make origami. So I'm going to show you how to make origami paper out of any paper. Here is a random piece of orange paper. It is a rectangle, so it's not ready to be origami yet. Origami is always made out of an exact square, but we can turn this rectangle into an exact square. We're going to need to do some really precise folding, but since that's the main skill for all origami, it's a good place to start. So you take one of the corners and you fold it in and over. Keep rolling it over until this edge meets the other edge. Don't just slam it down and fold it now. Make sure it's really, really precise. We want these lines to be right next to each other, and we want this corner to be folded exactly in the middle. So I'm just going to pick that up and show you. This corner needs to be folded right down the middle to make a nice sharp point. Once you know where your point is, make sure you place it back down on the table, because the table is going to help us keep everything nice and flat and smooth. So take your time to get to this point, don't rush it. Nice straight edge here, sharp point there, and we're going to smooth this down, making sure that this is always staying nice and flat. Now we've got our fold, we're going to make sure it's good and sharp by running the edge of our fingernail on it. This line now is all of the stuff we want to get rid of. If we get rid of this rectangle, what we'll be left with is a perfect square. We can get rid of that rectangle by cutting it with scissors, but maybe you don't have scissors. I don't know what you have. Maybe you don't have scissors. We can put a ruler here. Hold it down nice and flat. Make sure it's lined up with this line here. This line where we folded over. You line it up with that. You hold it really flat. Spread your fingers and thumbs out. Hold this bit that we want to get rid of, and you're just going to pull it up against the edge of the ruler. And that rips it. But maybe you don't have a ruler. Okay, if you don't have a ruler, anything that's nice and strong with a straight edge will do. Again, you just put it up against the edge like you did with the ruler, hold it down nice and flat, and pull and rip. That actually worked better than the ruler. Good job, chopping board. And then you open it up and there you have a square. Nice exact square, this one. We don't need, get rid of it. Save it for something else. What about if you don't even have a chopping board? Then you can still do it just by folding and tearing. So here's my line. I am going to fold this rectangle that I want to get rid of so that it is right up against that line. Smooth it down once with the pads of my fingers. That's these bits, squishy bits. Now I'm going to fold it over again with my fingernails, over and over. As I run my fingernail over and over this line, I am breaking the paper fibres. That weakens the paper along this edge. I want to make sure it's really weak though, so it tears nice and easy. So I'll fold it the other direction and go again. Fingernail running up and down, breaking those paper fibres. The more I do that, the weaker it will be. And now I'm just going to be able to start the tear up here. Don't start the tear here because we've got that other fold. We don't want to rip along there. Start the tear over here. And now hands flat on the table and just gently pull the two pieces away from each other. Our lovely perfect square and our rectangle that we don't need. Oops. And done. Squares. Now, I said before, the origami paper has one plain side and one pattern side, and it does help to be able to tell which side is which. So maybe you have paper that already has something on one side and nothing on the other. If not, take a moment to just do some kind of simple scribble on one side. If you want to take more time over it, please do. Feel free to pause and decorate your paper much nicer than mine. For now, let's get started. I'm going to use this piece. So we've already got our first fold. Brilliant. Now we're going to do the same in the other direction. So corner to corner. Fold them over. Smooth it down. And then go along and sharpen your fold. Open it up. Now we're going to fold side to side or edge to edge. Opening, bringing the corners together, making sure everything's lined up as nicely as you can. Smoothing it down with the pads of your fingers and then going over with your nail. Open it up and again. Now we have lots of folds, so we've split our work into eighths. That's 8 equal pieces. Next we need to do a slightly trickier fold, which is good because you're probably already starting to think, oh, a bit bored, this is too easy. So poke this out. See this fold in the center? Poke this up so it's like a little mountain. And you can see that these folds naturally start to turn in. Let them do that. Flatten out the triangles that are emerging on either side. Now, with origami, you might always need to do a little bit of pressing and shifting to make sure everything lies nice and flat. So that's why it's good to have a good solid table underneath you or the floor. Press everything down. Lovely. So now we have a triangle with some folds on the inside. We're going to take one bit here and fold it up so that the point that was down here now meets the top of our triangle. Fold that down. Do the same on this side. Always smoothing down your folds. Good. Now take the whole thing and flip it over. And then turn it around. Okay. This is now the up of our butterfly. I'm going to take this flap not the whole lot, leave some of it behind, this flap, and fold it up. Again, you're going to need to kind of pull and flex the paper to get it where you want it. This point wants to go over the top edge because it's going to be like the head of the butterfly. Push that down. You can see these bits are pulling up away from the table. That's okay. We're just going to flatten them down, kind of let them do that. And flatten these bits. You see what I'm doing here? Push them down. Good. Do the same on the other side. Just keep pulling and pushing until it gets to the shape you want, which is like this. Okay, you can see mine's not totally symmetrical. Maybe yours would be better. As I said, this is the head of the butterfly, so we're going to flip the whole thing over again and fold its little face down. This will help keep everything together and also give your butterfly a little bit more personality. Things without a head struggle to have personality. So here's its face. It's pretty flat at this point, so here's where you're going to just fold this in. So this is one wing. You can see it's got a nice wing shape, but we need a body. So we're going to fold this wing in a little bit at an angle. Can you see that line? I'm going from the middle down here up to next to the head. So create a triangular body here. So I fold it up, and I'm going to do the same on the other side, obviously, because we don't want our butterfly to be too asymmetrical. So fold the wing up, pinch that together, and then fold the whole thing in half. Okay. Keep adjusting the folds, pushing them back into place and scrunching your butterfly until you're happy with the shape. Now, this is presumably your first origami butterfly, and maybe it's not perfect. That's okay, because we can just make more and more pieces of paper and keep practicing until you have one really lovely that you can be proud of. Once you're done, why not take a picture and then you can show me